Okay. Should be going. Pause. Live on Twitch. Thank you, Mr. Certainly. I'm a little flying by the seat of my pants. I had a good meeting up until 1:30, so it was a little bit of a stuff my face and come up here and get everything set up. And of course, like, this camera was like not showing up. So I had to plug it in and plug it out and plug it in and plug it out until it worked. But we'll give folks just a couple minutes, even though it's 2 o'clock on the dot. I'm just a little late. Hi, Jim from Discord. Twitch chat test from Twitch. Thank you, Mr. Certainly. And thank you to the folks in the YouTube chat. Thanks, David. It says take your time. Mr. Certainly is testing all the chats. Alvaro says hi from Costa Rica. Charles says, good day, young man, and you're up on YouTube. Great, thank you. And Mark says, you're on my huge TV today. Emma's away for the weekend. Does that mean Emma doesn't want to watch me? I don't even watch these videos, so I don't know what you all are doing. All right. Cat cam set up. It's a weird proportion, but I think it's okay. It, like, every time I start OBS, everything's shuffled. And usually this camera's frozen, so it's a bit of a wild card. One thing I have to do is I do need to adjust this down off the screen, like so. And now I can see just the status. And oh, you know, I was also gonna make, I think I forgot this last time as well, but making YouTube chat nice and large so that on the stream people can watch it. And at the bottom, I can still see concurrent viewers. And the stream condition. I think I remembered to set it to low latency, which is cool. I did not get my checklist done. David's asking if I got the checklist done, and I obviously didn't. I feel like I need to make a meta checklist to like tell me to get the checklist done. I think I probably forgot something, but I think we're going. You can hear me. That's good. Should be recording. That's good. Mr. Certainly asks, I remember you mentioning the Game Boy FPGA clone. Have you looked into their SNES FPGA clone? I have not. But you're talking about analog. Analog Pocket is what I was talking about. Ooh, pretty. Oh, you can't see it. Not the overhead. Oh, Emma sleeps at normal Swedish time. Talking of cats, I've not seen them for a few days, but today I saw Boots. Spook's hanging out. Hopefully he won't have a seizure. I guess I'll get started after I show the SNES version. No, I just like, I'm such a sucker for Game Boy stuff. I think like Game Boy Pocket was my first system, so I think I'm a bit more nostalgic for it, along with the fact that it's like much smaller, so it takes less space as well. All right, let me switch back and we'll get going. It's 2:04, so we're well on our way. Hello everyone, my name is Scott and I work on CircuitPython for Adafruit. Adafruit is an open source hardware and software company based out of New York, although I am in Seattle. I work remotely for them. If you want to buy stuff from Adafruit and support me through that, go to adafruit.com. lots of stuff there. I work on CircuitPython, which is a version of Python designed for beginners on very basic and inexpensive computers called microcontrollers. You'll find on Adafruit that you can purchase boards that have lots of different microcontrollers on them, that many of them run CircuitPython. I do this stream every week, normally at Fridays at 2 p.m., although I have shifted it to Thursdays at 2 or 3 p.m. If I want to take Friday off for any reason. So keep an eye on the Adafruit blog just for those notices. I usually post about 24 hours beforehand. So if it's Wednesday and you don't see anything, that means I'm doing it on Friday. Of course, that's Pacific time, so adjust accordingly for you. Yeah, so these are deep dives. I'm a core C coder on CircuitPython, so we're talking about, in these streams, it's been the ESP32S2, which is an exciting chip from Espressif that has both Wi-Fi and native USB all built in. So we're very excited about it and making lots of good progress. If you have questions in the chat, please feel free to ask them. If you're watching this after the fact, we have a Discord server that is live all the time, and I'm on there during the week. I try to ignore it on weekends to take time away from work, but to join that, you can go to the URL adafru.it/discord. That's the short link for it. Yeah, so that's the plugs, I think. Today, generally, we're going to talk more ESP32S2 work. I've been really, as you know from last week, very on the cusp of getting a pull request out for the native Wi-Fi support. So we're close to that, and I'll go over a little bit later what I've done since then. But the last piece of housekeeping is the cat in the corner. That is Spook. He's 6 years old, and he is epileptic, so he does have seizures from time to time. You probably won't see him because the cat cam my friend pointed out, the cat cam is not on when I'm showing my desktop. So if you want to see cat cam instead of me or in addition to me, maybe we can make that happen. But I'll usually just pause for about 5 minutes while he does that, just to make sure that he's safe. Doesn't get hung up on any wires in here, that sort of thing. So it's happened before. People just hang out in the chat, and I'll come back and finish things after that. So just a heads up on there. I wonder if we should dive right into it, actually. So a lot of what I spent this week working on is the native Wi-Fi stuff. We got it working pretty well, but some folks had tried it, which was awesome, and they found that the USB didn't work anymore, which is kind of a big problem. Bruce says dive away. So yes, that the USB was an issue. It turned out to be a pretty simple fix. When I did a merge with stuff that that Lucian had been doing. Lucian's been working on, he goes by Higher Effect. He was working on the Pulse stuff. So he added NeoPixel and then needed Pulse in and Pulse out that I merged today. He had changed some of the port level configs for what modules are included, and he turned off USB MIDI and said, I think it was turned off before, but it said comment disable this until we have USB, and I was like, well, we have USB, why is this disabled? And it turns out the reason is that USB doesn't work if it's enabled, and that's because I think there's only so many USB endpoints supported by the hardware, and by enabling MIDI, which I did because I was like, this doesn't apply, so let me turn it on. It actually, there was not enough endpoints for what we were trying to do with it. So I turned MIDI back off, and USB is working again. So yeah, that we can worry about that at a later date. And then besides that, basically I've been polishing the code like I was last week and really hitting a lot of errors. And with those errors, I want to not do a terrible job at handling them. Networking code in particular is notorious for errors because you're talking to another computer and there's all this network between you and this other computer. So there's many reasons that errors can happen. And so I went in and I was trying, well, first I wanted to understand um, like how CPython handles sockets. So I did some basic like, let me just use sockets in CPython and see what exceptions are thrown. Like if I close a socket and then try to receive anything, like what does it do? So that's mostly most of the week what I've been working on this week, and then I've been using the version of the Adafruit requests library on top of that. Um, so so that's kind of like the long term thing I think we can do for like the usually hour and a half portion, like the last hour and a half of this stream, is I think we can polish up the native Wi-Fi stuff and also polish the Adafruit request thing so I can actually make a pull request. I think the main work there is I realized I was listening to or I read this Steve Yegi blog post. This guy is kind of famous for criticizing Google, even when he was at Google. And as somebody who used to work for Google too, I kind of like to listen, like read the things he's talking about. And he had a recent blog post about like backwards compatibility and how Google's like famous for breaking stuff and not being backwards compatible. And so that made me think with the Adafruit requests changes that I've made, I really need to like at least have it backwards compatible for a while we can update all of the other libraries. So there's some pretty basic work I think I need to there to basically like put the old interface on top of the changes that I've made so far. So I think we'll do that towards the end of here. But the thing I was teasing, and of course, if you have questions, let me know. But the thing that I was teasing and the thing I was thinking I would dive into right now is I was actually trying to get PSRAM working on the rover. The Apple approach, just look forwards. Yeah, I tend to be that way too. And I think one of the main reasons is that within Google, all the code's like most of the code is all accessible to you. So doing doing refactoring, you could actually do. You could just go change it every place that it is found. And I think that's led to this thing of like, what happens when you don't have access to code that depends on your APIs, which is worth thinking about. I like, as an API designer, I like to be able to refine things, but at the same time, we have to be very good about like moving people off onto the new stuff. And one of the things I actually worked on this week as well is moving PWM out of Pulse.io and into a PWM.io module instead. Hi, Asif from LinkedIn. Says your first time. Welcome. And Bruce says, yeah, PSRAM would be nice. So nice. So, yes. Actually, let me just let me Sublime merge it, and I'll show you where I'm at with that. Catcam's going away. So this is Sublime merge. These are the changes that I have actively in my branch here. And I think I'll just throw these into native Wi-Fi. So the rover, it turns out to be the one with the external PSRAM, along with a Feather S2, but I'm not using that. And what I did is I just ran menu config from the make, and it dumped this diff into SDK config, and I enabled the SRAM. So you can see that I set it to the 2 megabyte SRAM, and you can set it to auto type, but I actually want the size to be set. I don't know if there's a way to get that from the IDF otherwise. So I want the SPIRAM set, because basically what I'm going to do is just use the SPIRAM for CircuitPython. And then all of the internal RAM will be left for the stack and the ESP IDF heap and things like that. And then I guess, for this stuff, I'll show you menu config in just a second. And then the thing that I changed was like now heap size is a global as well. And in port init, when everything's getting going, I'm now trying to set the heap to the address of where the PSRAM gets mapped, if it's defined, and then the size to that. And if not, we'll still just malloc it from the IDF directly. So just a couple tweaks there. That's all I've done, and I was hoping that's all I would have to do. I didn't actually check these I/O, so it's possible that these I/O are wrong. So I should check that. But first, let me show you menu config. So where am I? I made the window all sorts of different sizes. And also, I'm actually using the V3. I had to find my rover to test this, and it's actually, I was using it when I soldered up my V3 of my feather adapter. So I'm actually using that right now. Didn't have any solder bridges or anything, which is great. So the way that I configure it is I just do make. That's my normal command. But if you do menu config, the way that I have the makefile set up is that it does a diff between the default that's like global to the port and the board, and puts it in the board file for you. So if you have your own board and you have PSRAM, here's where to look. It's component config, and then ESP32S2 specific, and then you have to hit, so if you hit no here, there's not this option, but if you hit Y, you add the external SPI-RAM connected, and then you can configure it. And they have different size options here. So 2 megabytes, 4 megabytes, and 8 megabytes. And you'll want to set that explicitly so that we know what size it is in CircuitPython. And then I didn't set the pins, but we might need to do that actually. And I assume the speed is fine. Initialize it during startup. So memory allocated during boot up can also be placed in SPI-RAM. Sure. It says ignore PSRAM when not found. So I'm hitting question mark to get this information. All right. Is seen as an error making the CPU panic. If this is enabled, booting will complete, but no PSRAM will be available. So we could do that, but we won't have any way to know if it's missing. And then for a SPI-RAM access method, we did integrate RAM into memory map, because we're not actually going to use malloc at all to do it. We could, but we're not going to. Ideally, I'd like them just separate. Yeah, so those are the settings, and then you just escape until you're done. And then I was hoping that would be it, but let me show you what happens. So we'll have to build it and load it back. How's everybody's week been? I'm gonna open my window. And we can look at the cat. Look at that kitty. Loving his bed. Maybe I should automatically do that. Figure out how to know when I'm compiling, and whenever I'm compiling, switch over to cat cam. I think that'd be pretty neat. D Flower says, great day off. Nice. I didn't take today off, although I have not done as much as I wanted to today. Jim says, week has been good. Finally got back to the observatory last night. First time since January. So this is what is happening, is that I'm crashing when I start up, which actually could be this issue with the SPI-RAM. So I know some people wanted to know how I deal with this stuff, so I thought this would be a good thing to show. So in another tab, I'm in the same directory. I actually have this this tool just in there called decode backtrace, and then you give it the name of the board, and then you just paste the backtrace in there, and it should work. But it uses just this address to line thing. So all the Python does is it splits apart this backtrace line and then calls address to line on every one of those. So we just need to get our environment set up. Export fish. I always do that. IDF. I don't know why, like, my other terminal has this, just not this one. It's so weird. Oh. Okay. And we're gonna need to copy it again. Nice. Mark Olson says, I've been porting stuff to a board I've made. Bootloader, TinyUSB, Zephyr, and CircuitPython is next. DCD says that the AutoCAD cam's a great idea. Mark Olson asks, what's the minimum RAM flash you need for CircuitPython? It's quite a specific board, so some modules could be disabled. I2C is SPI not needed, for example. The smallest RAM we run in is 32K, and that's pretty tight. So that's all the M0 boards. Flash, we have 256K flash for M0s, like a Gemma. And we use 64K of that for the file system. That's as small as we go. You might be able to fit in like 128K if you have a lot of stuff turned off, but I don't think like the CircuitPython modules are actually like that much of what is in the flash. I think it's a lot of the VM and objects and stuff. So I'm not sure. If you don't need SPI and I2C, then you're going to be smaller than a lot of the stuff we've done. But 32K RAM, if people are loading code, that's about what you need. The STM32F1, I know Lucian is looking at that for now. Hi, Esden on Twitch. We had a great conversation. Yeah, I'm better about reading the Discord because I have it open two windows, not just one. But don't be sorry at all. I'm excited about the FPGA stuff, and I appreciate you you filling me in. Okay, so what's the deal with this backtrace? I would have thought that if the RAM was actually bad, that it would have crashed way sooner than this. But then again, yeah, let's just pull up runtime C and we'll see what it is. See if it makes any sense. I would have thought that it would have checked, like, I would have thought that it would have told me that, like, oh yeah, we have, or like the PSRAM you told us we had was not found. 1072. Let's just look here. Bruce says Discord's the best chat. I agree. If folks don't know, you can go to adafru.it/discord to get to the Discord chat. And it doesn't go away at the end of the stream. We can keep chatting after the fact, which is why I like it a lot. 1072. So this is just like a really random place to crash. Load method maybe. I wonder if we should just try to load prohibited. I wonder if we should, oh no, it says PSRAM initialized, cache is normal, is in normal 1-core mode. SPI SRAM memory test okay. Look at this address. It has the word bad in it. Bad BC9. And then A5 is bad as well. So I wonder what's so bad about it. I know that they warn you that you can't DMA from it, but I'm not DMAing at all at this point. I don't think this chip just prints out something. So I don't know. I mean, it's in GC. We're in GC malloc, so we are doing something around the memory addresses. So let's see what GC 298 is. And it is weird to me that I guess we're just getting file names. That's okay. GC 298. 298. Ah, so we're sweeping right now. Oh, okay. If the object has a type, then see if it has a delete method. So we got pretty far. Bad dead beef. In the I2C when it had issues. I don't know. Can I push tags? I think DCD was having problems that they were coming across as a 5.0 something still. Because they were going straight from my branch or something. I guess we could just print out our object and just see. Okay, let's close that. I showed that off. Let's do some printf debugging and just figure out what this object is here. I've been doing Python, can you tell? This typed print. I wish it was that simple. I've also done pulse.io stuff. Let's close other tabs. Close without saving, close without saving. Oh, come on. And then I know that I have logging in ports. Socket. So I'll just snag that. So I don't know why it's complaining at me. It's... yeah. I mean, maybe there's some sort of DMA that I'm doing implicitly that I don't know. That seems not like the Occam's razor, and that's not the simple answer. 298. Right? 298. Finalize OBJ. Okay. Should I switch to cat cam again? He's in the same position. Spook, look cute. He's nailing it. I do have two cats, that's why there's two beds. It's still compiling. Key string's going. I need motion detection for cat cam interrupts. I think, well, one, the leaves would be a problem, and two, the, I don't really want to, like, live stream a cat seizure if I can help it. I mean, they can be not too bad, but they can also be kind of crazy. He just hisses primarily. But that's a little far from electronics that I'd like to go. So we're working on PSRAM, for those of you who joined late. Trying to get the external PSRAM on the rover going. I know folks have been waiting a long time. It's not necessarily because I'm not planning on giving that RAM to the IDF. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to do a lot of like concurrent connections and stuff. Esden asked, cats are electronics now. I wish they were. I wish they were. Because if he was, then I think I'd have a better chance of understanding, being able to debug his brain and prevent him from having seizures. Okay, so this is an address in the PSRAM range. So let's pull up the datasheet and figure out, maybe my like bounds for PSRAM is wrong or something. But I think that's right. It starts with 3F8. And then the 2EF80, I'm not sure. Maybe it's too far, but I don't think it is. But let's just triple check that like my understanding of the address range is right. So Emmett Ray says, please tell us your best bench press. I haven't bench pressed in a long time, so I don't remember. And that has absolutely nothing to do with anything that we're talking about. Oh yeah, I was trying to see how many, how big the PSRAM on the Feather S2 is. Okay, here we go. External memory. And external memory mapping is 3F. Wait. It's not instruction bus. It should be external RAM is 64K blocks via the D cache. And that would be this. Oh, you know what? I wonder if this is because this says this is something different. This says 3F5. Although I think I have it set to 3F8. But I was following the instructions for the IDF. I wonder where it's mapped to. Right, so Bad Abby says, during the ESP IDF startup, external RAM is mapped to the data address space starting at address 3F8. The length of this region is the same as the SPI RAM size, up to the limit of 4 megabytes. I don't, that's for the, that I know this is exactly what I pointed you to. And I think this might be a case where the docks are for the ESP32 and not the S2. Here, so this is what you're talking about, this 3F80000. But I wonder if that's a lie. I wonder, because like, according to the data sheet here, right, it's up to 10.5 megabytes. So I wonder if the low address is actually different. Does it tell us here? It doesn't say, like, this is where the heap is. And it says that it found the SPYRAM, but it doesn't actually tell us what address it mapped it to. I mean, I'm surprised that I got all the way to the finalizer. I got all the way to the finalizer to do it. So I wonder if it's actually like an instruction bus. Like I try and access it on the instruction bus, which is kind of wild. But yeah, I wonder how we know where it actually mapped it to. So let's look at the SPYRAM component. My output would have a 3F8 address because of the way that I set it up. So in supervisor port here, I have heap equals to DRAM1 address low. Let's see what's next to that though, because that could be, like, I found that by searching for that. I think that the rover module only has a 2 megabyte PSRAM according to its datasheet. So let's kill that. We don't need that anymore. Let's find where I found this, and let's just see if there's something suspect next to it. So components. Actually, let's look here. Pages for Flash. Let's look in this components ESP32S2 PS or SPYRAM. Components. ESP32S2. Look, ooh, an S3 directory. Wait, does this tell us? What does this tell us? Does it tell us how much RAM it has? I'm kind of curious. If IDF environment is FPGA. So they must prototype these on an FPGA board. Instruction cache. Data cache. SPYRAM config. SPYRAM size. This looks like all the same sort of stuff. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. LD. Oh, look at this. This has SRAM, DRAM start, 3FC8. But that could be the internal. That must be the internal stuff. Fixed static RAM size. Linker scripts are fun. But yeah, I think it's a bit more than the S2. DRAM 0 segment length. So let's look in the equivalent of S2 stuff. So this is in SPYRAM. Oh look, there is an ESP SPYRAM get size. So we could call that, I think. SPYRAM test. Test memory, okay. Cache size. SPYRAM small size map V address. Mid size. Big size. Mid-big size. I feel like that's... Oh, here you go. Here's the different sizes. Cache size. PSRAM space not big enough for the instructions. Read-only data access. Instruction flash start page get. Enabled but initialization failed. That's good, so it would have logged an error if it didn't work. And it checks the size if it doesn't match. PSRAM mode, caches in. Here we go. Add to heap allocation. Let's see how this works. If PSRAM size is less than this, which is true, add region. Size for flash. Small map size +1. So we have size for flash is 0, I think. So this, I think, is the actual value that we want. Is that... Oh, so it maps it from the high part of it. So this is what we actually want. Yeah, so I think like there's a certain set of the memory space that's set aside for the flash, and they're doing it for the top end of that memory space down rather than the opposite. So I think that if I... And this is the first time maybe the CircuitPython code is loading from that area. It's writing to it and thinking it's working when it's not. But loading from it is causing a problem, maybe. Okay, so let's try that. So here, we want DRAM cache address high minus size, which we'll grab this way. So let's give that a shot. Do. Cats. Oh, he's hanging out of his bed a little bit more. He just like flops out of it. Oh, how excited. What are people going to do with 2 megabytes of CircuitPython heap? That's what I want to know. It's like by far bigger than anything else we support right now. And maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should actually split it up. The alternative is I could set it available to the ESP IDF and then continue to allocate through the IDF like I am. Mark Gambler says, I'll allocate a 2 megabyte block because I can and complain I have no memory, of course. Right. What you're going to do is you're going to run out of space. Huh. So this is actually, we're finalizing an address that's even lower, which looks even less right. What is the right? What is this? We're memory region hunting. You would think that would be a nice thing to add. Maybe I'll make a PR. Like, oh, if you're not address high is 3E. Virtual address. I mean, if the address high is 3E, and we're subtracting. Actually, let's put a log in here ourselves so that we can see what we think we're fixed heap. Let me complain about what they should be doing and not do it myself. Okay. We could log allocations too to see how much we're allocating there, but I think our problem is we're just not in the right place. Heat start is fixed heat pointer. And its length and word sizes, so it's going to be a little bit less than we expect. DCD said, would some of it be useful as a RAM disk file system? I don't know. That's a good question. I would worry that if we had an actual file system on RAM, then we would confuse people. Like, they would expect it to not disappear when they reset it. The other thing to think about is that this RAM is not going to be as quick, although there's a cache. But that cache is shared with the flash, too, it turns out. And we can't DMA everywhere from it either. We never printed anything, which seems weird. Port fixed heap. Let's print here too. Like, how is it getting its bounds if it's not calling port fixed heap like I expected? Or is it and I just missed it? No? It's like jumping right there. Huh. Maybe good to store data if you don't have a cell radio, etc. type connection, and then mass upload it later on. Well, we definitely don't want the IDF starting up and clearing it all then, if we wanted it to actually live longer than the RAM internally. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, you just want a buffer. That should just be doable. It should just work. Like, you can just have a giant Python list or a byte array. Was hoping this would be quick, but I know people are excited about it. Just like some misunderstanding. Heap start at 3F78. Okay. What is heap end? Okay, I thought it would call the get fixed heap. Which has me a little worried. But maybe I just did that to be consistent. I've never seen someone sit in a chair like that. Yeah, this chair is designed for it. It's kind of a weird chair. I forget what it's called. Yeah, it's the fully... It's a weird chair from these. It's supposed to be more ergonomic. And the idea with this chair is that it's not the most comfortable chair, which means I have to... This one. You can see how much I paid. But yeah, it's a weird one. It's meant to, like, keep you moving. See, she's sitting in it backwards, too. DCD says, would we learn something by looking at the assembly code to see why bad is getting into A10? Is the bad address a magic number thing? How is it getting loaded? It feels like the bad would be actually from the, could be from, like, we're missing, like, it's a bad address sort of thing. Tim says, actually, I'm glad you're showing the process of figuring it out. One of the missing skills in new developers is also is often problem solving. Yeah, 100%. Lol, you'd have to keep moving just to be able to afford that, like, staying at work. Yeah. It's... You shouldn't feel bad, like... If you work at a computer all day and are able to afford it, you should spend money on yourself. Like, I sit in this chair tens of hours a week. It's well worth paying $800 for. Same with mouse, keyboard, monitor. Like, if you're working at a computer, you should invest and make sure that you're comfortable. Because, like, I'd like to do this for a few decades, and, like, I've got to take care of myself and my body in order to do that. So yeah, make sure your chair is sustainable in terms of your body sustaining when you're in it. All right, how'd we do? So we're in 3F78 and the top is 3FF8. One way we could do it. Yeah, Bruce agrees with me, says, yes, I caused a neck issue using the wrong chair for a few years. Mark says, my work chair, in quotes, is a $1,500 sofa. Yeah, and a chair lasts almost forever. Yep. As long as the cats don't scratch it. All right, well, add region. Use HB bus T3. One thing we could do is we could just turn it on. Like let the ESP manage it and then just see what address ranges it gives back to us. Let's do that. Tim Orling in LinkedIn says many months of physical therapy because of the wrong chair and mouse. And Luca says that's definitely the most unique chair I've ever seen. Yeah, Bruce says, can't you write some C code using the IDF and see what happens? Bruce also says, I had a great chair at work, a Leap, I think. I wanted to smuggle it out when I left. Just buy yourself one. Treat yourself. Okay, let's menu config this up. Let's do what you're saying. In menu config, let's do component config. And S2 specific, SPI-RAM config. Access method. Make RAM allocatable using heat caps malloc. Let's do that instead, and then we'll do that in place of our like pointer stuff. Okay. So let's hide this, and we'll say heap equals heap caps malloc. And we'll just do the regular heap size, but we have to give it the caps thing. Yeah, Tim says $1,500 or more for therapy or an $800 chair, your choice. Yep. Get a nice keyboard too and mouse. I actually you can't see my setup, but I have like a trackball instead of a mouse. And I use it on my left hand because my right hand was really, my right arm like here, there was like starting to bother me. So I've actually switched sides, and I've done a lot of stuff trying to keep my arms in particularly healthy. It's still not perfect either, which is the frustrating part. Okay, what's the SPI-RAM thing that we need for heat caps? Use malloc. Malloc cap SPI-RAM. That is what I want. There we go. And let's run it. Yep. Bruce says they switch mousing hands as well. I've also switched, I don't use QWERTY anymore. I use Colmac. So if you're willing to not type very well for a few months, oops, I recommend Colmac for sure. It's amazing how many more things you can type on the home row. Mark's got a link to his office chair. Somebody else had a topic they wanted me to talk about. I think. Yeah, DCD was asking, maybe you can add how modules get added to the CircuitPython library to the discussion agenda. Both the built-in ones like socket pool as well as the PyMPY, and how they flow through GitHub, eventually join the library bundle. Are you using PSMalloc rather than malloc? I'm using the heap caps malloc. I'm using the heap caps malloc to get it straight from there. The original thing I was doing was trying to use the pointer directly, but it was not working. I didn't know what the right address to use raw. Like, it says that you can say just memory map it and then I'll use it, but I had the wrong range, I think, in the memory that I was trying to use, so it was causing issues. Thank you, Folknology. And Mark says, I see your wife picked up her paper from the printer. Yeah, DCD has a link to Colmac there. It's nice because it's supported in Mac natively, which I used to use a lot, and then I have my Linux box set up to use it as well. But it's basically like a better keyboard layout designed for people who learned QWERTY. So they there's like one letter that's on a different hand, and then everything else is like on the same hand. Huh. So it still didn't work. Although heap start and heap top are the same, which is a problem. Heap size equals heap size. Let's try it again. But yeah, I like Colmac. I recommend it. It did take me a while though to get switched over. But like the left hand side is like ARSTD is like your left hand home row. And all of your ZXCVB, like all your control, your copy and paste are in the same place still, which is nice. I've actually got like this hybrid on my keyboard. I can show you. But I've got some blank keycaps and some not blank keycaps. Like all the ones that are different from QWERTY are blank, and the ones that are the same have the same letter on there. I think VI usually has a mode where you can just load it and it'll hey, it worked. So it's giving me 3FD 8001C. So that 3FD8. But it doesn't say. It still doesn't print out like, hey, it's available at this spot. It says adding pool of 2048K to external SPI memory to heap allocator. Let's find this message and just the keyboard is a keyboardio. I think it's just keyboard.io. It's a keyboardio. It's my favorite that I've found so far. Let's find this message and just add a thing of like, it's in this range. Although I guess we want to put it in a different spot. Okay. This is the thing that's printing it out. And thank you for the keyboardio link, folks. And so this is changing the IDF, which means I'm going to have to clean and rebuild everything, because CircuitPython won't rebuild it, because it's like two separate build systems, unfortunately. I think they're coming out with a new model of the Keyboardio as well. I don't know if it's in stock right now. I've talked with Obra, who's the guy that creates it, and we've talked about doing a CircuitPython based keyboard. But I think that Maker Diary is gonna beat us to it. But yeah, in terms of VI, switching to Comac, like, I think you could probably just find some file that somebody's already created, so it's the same. Mark Olson says, just checking out the keyboard layouts on Mac, found Comac. Also, the Australian layout is the wrong way around. It should be... QWERTY upside down. I don't recognize the last letters. I don't know my... Now that I've learned Comac, whenever if I'm logging onto somebody else's computer, I'm like staring at my fingers, trying to just go by like the labels on the keycaps. Because just by feel, I won't do it anymore. By feel, I'll do it in Comac. It's a weird sensation. I'm kind of surprised there's no way to just query this PSRAM thing. Like, what is your memory bounds? PSRAM get size. Fede2 says, my keyboard has keycaps without letters, so it's kind of nice to switch from QWERTY to Dvorak. Funny thing is why did I leave it the last time? Oh dear. I would not do Dvorak. I didn't like it. Dvorak was designed as a way for people to learn to type better to start with. So there's a lot different between QWERTY and Dvorak versus Comac. Comac only came out like after 2000 something. And Juan Carlos says, I feel like I would be locked out of all my accounts since I rely on muscle memory for all my passwords. Yes, that can be a problem. But I mostly use LastPass now, so I don't actually have to remember most of my passwords. All right, how are we doing? All right, we started up and it printed out a range. So these are the values that we need. That confirms that like we're operating within that range and that we went down that branch. So let's crib it. Isn't that what we tried? We tried the DRAM cache address high minus the config PSRAM size. Isn't that what we printed out? No. I wonder what size for flash is. Let's just, before we keep going, let's just print that too. I don't think it's anything. I expect it to be 0. Is the size in words or bytes? It should, for our heap size, it should be in words. For theirs, I assume is in bytes. Which of course is confusing. Plus size for flash. And then this is the same thing up to SPIRAM small size vadder plus small size map size -1, which seems, is that range larger than the actual RAM? Which seems weird. Fed82 says, I used to rely on muscle memory, then after vacations I forgot the encryption password for the whole machine. I spent like 2 days trying to remember the password, then like an extra day trying to do a brute force hit attack with a Circuit Playground Classic, with the part of the password I thought I remembered, and guessing that one I didn't. At the end I had to reinstall. Always thankful for backups. Yeah. One thing I realized recently was when I switched to Linux, I was having trouble with the lock screen crashing. And so I realized I work on open source at my house. I don't need a lock screen. So I now don't have a lock screen on my Linux box anymore. It's actually really nice. I only have to type my password in when the computer starts up. Abominable says that's a genius idea, but it's alarming that it doesn't limit the number of password attempts. Yep. So I wonder how this, like, I thought we were getting that value. I thought that's what we were figuring out. Were we going the wrong direction? Like, it would be okay if our end point was too low. Yeah, it is 0. So this 3FD8. What is this? Oh. It is DRAM cache address high minus SPIRAM size. And SPIRAM size is the size of the flash. Tim Orling says, I'm coming over and siphoning off your bank accounts. You gotta make it in the house. And if you can make it in the house, there's a lot of other things you can do too. But don't dox me. If you want to get coffee, if you're in Seattle, let me know and I'll meet you somewhere else. So why didn't it work? Why didn't it work when we did this? Is it like different? Oh, maybe it's an issue here? That like I'm casting it. It could be that. It could be that I'm casting it too early. I forgot about the death ray and the trapdoor. Ah! DCD says, bad is the result of an unmapped page. Tim's in Portland. You're not that far away from me. 3FD8 is what we're going for. If this heap top we can... Oh, it's not going to compile. We want that to be 3FD8. And then we'll be set. Mark Olson says, but as you're on lockdown, you'll be home anyway. Not only am I on lockdown, but I also work from home. So I'm home a lot of the time. Bruce says, in staring at the MicroPython port to ESP32, it seems the address is correct. MP task heap is 3F8000000. I think that's different on the S2. I think that's only for the ESP32. Because that's the first thing I tried and it definitely didn't work. And I know that the ESP32 limits you to 4 megabytes of SRAM, but I think that the S2 is like 10.5 megabytes. Me6 says, hey, just joined the stream, 6:15 a.m. here in Singapore. Please could you share a quick summary of where the ESP32 S2 is at? I'm still tinkering with the TTGo board, and my Salad board arrives today. Yeah, so we're just trying to get the external PSRAM going on the rover. I got distracted by that. I have a native Wi-Fi branch that works reasonably well. I've added a lot of error checking and error handling. That should be used with my new Adafruit requests module as well. Which will, hey, it looks correct. I think it was that cast that might have been messing us up. So we need to comment this out. Actually, no. Config PSRAM size divided by the size of the uint 32T. I think we're close. Let me just get this compile going. And we have to do menu config as well. Because we want to turn it off the... I mean, we could, but it would be gross to leave it. ESP32S2 specific, PSRAM config. Integrate it into the memory map. And it's clean. It does take a little while for it to get going, so... Me6 says, amazing, thanks for the progress update, and you're welcome. I feel like we're so close, but I said that last week as well. Bad Abby asks, where do we get the new Adafruit request module from, and how do we build it? If you go to my fork of the requests library, which is Tannewt Adafruit requests, there's an HTTP 1.1 branch, and that's where I'm pushing it. And hopefully, we got 40 minutes left. Maybe we'll... I want to get the native Wi-Fi PR out first, but then... and I think the old version might work, but this is a better version. This version has HTTP 1.1 support, and it also will do JSON parsing without loading the whole file all at once, which won't matter if we get the PSRAM going, but it will matter for more constrained boards. Yeah, the other thing that we had a problem with is the native Wi-Fi branch had broken USB for a while, and that was because we turned MIDI on, so I turned it back off. And now it works good. David G asks, any news from Lamora about the pin selection so that RGB matrix will work well and possibly one of the feather wings can be reused? We talked about it a little bit. She's not fully to the point of picking the pin out, but I think her concern was that it's going to be more dictated by more basic things like getting the SPI bus on one of the, like, there's two muxes in the S2, right? There's the IO mux and the GPIO mux, and the GPIO mux is what gives you a lot of flexibility, but it also caps you at 40 megahertz rather than 80. And so for some things we think will be high speed, specifically SPI, like we'll want to pick that specific set of pins. And there's also a UART that goes through the IOMX as well, so that might force our hand a little bit on it. The RGB matrix is tricky because it's so weird that we're doing a GC finalize there. But it looks like it's working. Even though we have this printout, let's just see. I don't think Unexpected Maker is watching. But we could add the Feather S2 support as well. Let's just talk to it and see that it continues to work. So I just clicked my USB cable on, and now we can see that we have over 2 megabytes free for the GC, or nearly that, and we have 130K or so free on the ESP in the internal SRAM. So it looks like it's working. DCD says, new request worked for me. See the link posted a few hours ago. Reading the restriction, it says, when flash cache is disabled, if the flash is being written to, the external RAM also becomes inaccessible. Any reads or writes will lead to an illegal cache access exception. This is also the reason why IDF does not default allocate any task stacks in external RAM. And there are other restrictions as well. Yes, and that's part of the reason I'm just like, CircuitPython will use the external RAM, and we won't have to worry about it. So, yeah. Looks like it works. Which is cool. And should we make Unexpected Maker do it for the Feather? We should at least delete these prints. Ha 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 ha. Did somebody ping Unexpected Maker? You are here. No worries. I think we'll, I was gonna ask you, the SPI-RAM size on the Feather S2 is 8 megabytes, right? Because I just added PSRAM support. Mark. Making me do more work. Okay, 8 megabytes on the Pro S2 and the Feather S2. Okay, I think I have my Feather S2 right here. Let's do it. I was just going to delete these logs first. This one. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is that the entire CircuitPython heap would be on the PSRAM. And I also introduced a different sub-type of exception for memory error that's ESP IDF memory error. So we should be able to distinguish the two. Okay. Let's pull up merge again. I'll commit this before we do the feather S2. If y'all are following along at home. That is right. So I like this just to see everything that changed, so we can just click like discard. It makes you do it twice to confirm. And this is, I wonder if I should actually do this in a separate branch. That would probably, because this has nothing to do with Wi-Fi, right? Let's do that. Let me show you how to do that. So git status, we can see that we have the two files staged. We can see the differences. Oh, and there's a log, which is definitely not going to work. Do you want me to commit and push it now, or should I do the feather S2 first? Oh no. FedA2 says, the PyPortal code I have right now has worked for small countries like Costa Rica, but when I try with the US, the file is so large my PyPortal goes poof. Two megabytes should be pretty good. Let's see. This is my Feather S2. I think. I don't want to confuse it by having too many endpoints. Yeah, I should be good, and I should do this as a... I might learn something as you add Feather S2 support. Have I seen Thermaltake's Cyberchair E500? I have not. You could push it and then rebase what you learn. Yeah. I think... Well, we know a few things about the S3. We know it has BLE. I think that's been publicly said. I'm sure there's a lot more you could learn by just looking at the IDF changes. But I know it's got BLE. +1 for a separate branch. Okay, BCD. You're right. We should do it as a separate PR. Okay, that works still. And we can connect to it. All good. Okay, that looks good. Let's do the S2, the Feather S2. So many S2s. I think it's just going to get more and more. So I think if I just unplug the current one, and then I've got this Type-C connector. But I have to do the fancy hold boot while pressing reset thing, right? I think. What is the... Unexpected maker for the rest too. Unexpected. How did your shell keep those right lines on the same line? Is that a fish thing, or did you add \r to the line? I did not add anything. I think fish did it for me. To wrap it, like if it gets too long, it bumps it all down. I think that's a fish thing. Fido2 says, is there a current CircuitPython chip that can also handle charging current on the USB 3? No, not that I know of. I don't know of any CircuitPython chip that does power delivery negotiation. See, I was sitting on my legs, and it's a really bad habit. But I'll stand for the last 30 minutes here as we add Feather S2 support, PSRAM support, and then we'll do a pull request. With just that, we'll rebase it off of main. And then I might be able to get the network one out as well. I just have one test that I want to do. No, writing the flash, it's normally one line at a time flying up the screen. Oh, so the progress bar? I think that's just a matter of your shell being able to handle like the characters that it outputs. Alvaro says, I'm building a guitar pedal that uses a clue to control its pots. Would be cool to get 9 volts from USB-C. Yeah, I know there's some STM chips that say they can do power delivery. Oh, we don't have... Is it an ACM? It's not appearing. ACM 0 is my keyboard, and I've made that mistake before, which is not fun. So it's just, I hold boot and hit reset, right? That's what it is? I thought that's how I got into the... How do I get into the bootloader? I don't know. I don't have any other options. I can hit regular reset. Am I wrong? I thought that's what it was. You hold boot down and hit reset. Do I have to like hold boot down and plug it in? No. That didn't do it. You need to use the exported ESP tool command and add no stub. I thought I added no stub to... I think our makefile does no stub. Doesn't it? I thought I set it up to do that. But like, I can't even get the CDC endpoint. Like flash, chip, port, no stub. Like I'm not doing this stub thing. Didn't work for you. Flash flags. I thought it should show up as a... It should show up as a CDC endpoint though, right? Or does it have to do something fancy? Tim says you'll have to add a boost circuit from 5 volts to 9 volts. I think what Alvaro was talking about is I think you can get other voltages over... You can negotiate different voltages over power delivery. USB 3 power delivery. I don't know if 9 is one of the options, but I think that's how you get 100 watts is you get like 5 volts. Let me change USB plug USB ports. It's possible that like it just doesn't like where it's plugged in. I'm on Linux. It's not CU USB modem. Mark Olson says 5, 15, and 20 volts are the most common. Well, bummer. The charge light's flashing. The red light's on. But besides that, I don't know. Is it ACM? Is that the equivalent? We can look in D-message, see if it's seeing anything. Nope. It hasn't seen anything since it's my... I don't know, somebody's shins doesn't seem like a very comfortable chair. If we're talking about the dog. Maybe if I reverse it. Never done this in Linux. I haven't either. I'm not seeing anything. TTY ACM1 was what I was thinking. Alright, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It should be easy for... I definitely held boot and pressed reset. I bet that's definitely what I've been trying. I don't know why. I don't know why it's unhappy, but I also know that like I've put other stuff on here. The USB modem thing is a Mac thing. Yeah. No worries. I don't know what the state of the software on that thing is. It should be easy for you to add. You may have missed it, but you just run menu config and select the specific size. Don't auto detect the size. Although I could probably make that work. You could do it. It's no problem. I don't know why it's not behaving. All right. I think that's right. I don't know. I could try it on my Mac later. But let's get a PR out, because yeah, let's get a PR out. Git diff. And it's deleting that. So... And so this is how I create a new branch. And I recommend everybody do it. So if you're new to Git, first, one thing you should do, one pro tip from me is do not use the names upstream, origin, or origin. It's confusing, in my opinion. What you should do is you should do git remote and name the remote after the user on GitHub. Charles, that's a great question. Are the data leads turned on? I was not using my cable that had the clicky thing in it. I was just using like this short, should be fully like type C to A cable that should work. But yeah, thank you. Actually, it's only 4 wires. Let me try a different USB-C cable. Maybe that's like a charge-only USB-C cable or something. Although this one that I know is a data cable also just has the few. Let me just try this other cable. It looks the same. And we only see the ACM. But let me do the boot reset. It looks the same. Yeah, same result. Bummer. We'll have to figure that out. But yeah, thank you, Charles. That's always a great question to ask me. Okay, so if you're new to Git, I recommend you naming your remotes after the user that does them, because it's in my mind, much clearer where things are coming from. Because remotes you should think of them as all separately, like you could think of them as peers. To Git, they're all peers. Yeah, nothing new there, Mark. I think upstream and origin are deceptive names because they imply special status when it doesn't actually imply any sort of special status. Like when I do git fetch Adafruit, which you should do, like I could git fetch MicroPython as well. They're equivalent. But I know that I want to like start from Adafruit main, and so that's why I'm fetching from Adafruit. So I'm going to do git status. I have these two things staged, but I think I want to try to leave them staged and check out Adafruit main. So this is how I always start a branch. Yeah. So it's always really handy. It just says stash. So we'll do git stash. And now if we look at our status, we can see that the 2 green files are no longer there. So if you're starting a new branch, check out Adafruit main, and then make your changes, or in our case, we already made our changes. But we did run into something else, so we'll have to fix that. Fede2 asks, you don't have Modem Manager installed. I don't think I do. I'm on Arch. Oh, and Fede2 is also recommending for any Spanish speakers, Electronic Cats from Mexico has been doing a series of videos that are really awesome. They did a video about grabbing power from USB. David says, I may have succeeded to do my first Git rebase in conserving the blame on change from other PR that went before mine. But the review will tell me whether I was fully successful. Okay, let's fix this merger. So in supervisor port, and then what I do is I just search for the marks. Looks like we imported RMT as well. And I know that's because Lucien was doing the Pulse IO stuff. I don't typically like this bare like RMT. I think he's snagging it from peripherals. Like my preference is actually to do it this way. I like to do it relative to either the top level of CircuitPython or the ports folder of CircuitPython. Nothing else, because I want to kind of know where things are coming from. So I think that should work. And if we search for, oh, there are more. Updated upstream. Never reset module internal pins. Oh, you know, we probably want to always do that. In my changes, I put that in with this heap stuff. That seems like a bad idea. That's not correct. Okay. And we changed how heap size works. So I think it's correct. Oh, that's right. I changed heap stuff after this. The whole allocate the heap in the... all this stuff is new in my native Wi-Fi branch. Okay. It's okay. I think that's right. We will test it. Okay. Let's go into the IDF and actually get it clean. So notice how it said both, at the start it said new commits and modified content. New commits means that it's not the submodule, you have to do the git submodule update. Init recursive. Now we can see that it should be up to date, and we could do TinyUSB as well. Just to be diligent about testing like the actual state of main right now. What does git checkout mean? Git checkout can do a couple things. Git checkout dot. Git checkout dot. The dot is the current directory, so it's checking out the current version of the files underneath the current directory as they are, like in the committed version of, like the previous commits version of the file. So like I had added a log statement into the PSRAM thing, and I just checked it out to basically delete it and get the copy from the previous commit. Modified content. I think that's because there's some submodule that we've sucked in that we don't need LWIP in TinyUSB. Like it's for something else. It's silly. Okay, make. Rover. Let's do a clean here first to make sure that we're exactly where we want. This will make the heap on the non-PSRAM version smaller. It's 64K now, but for the native Wi-Fi stuff, I bumped it down to I'm in the old version of the IDF, and it's complaining that I have the wrong environment. Oh, what a pain. I think what I can do is can I deactivate and then move to the IDF and source it again? Let's see if that works. Otherwise you're gonna get a rant. That looks further. Somebody's asking what chair and mouse Tim settled on. Yeah, cleanup. we're just about wrapping up. Sorry I didn't get to the networking stuff. I'll probably do that off my stream. I think I could probably get the PR out today. The one thing I was doing yesterday at the end was figuring out how to raise an exception. So whenever you create an SSL or TLS connection, you do a couple of huge allocations. You do like a 16 kilobyte allocation incoming and a 4 kilobyte outgoing for doing all of the encryption. And so what I was doing is I was making it so that if you have like two sockets, so with the new version of the requests, HTTP 1 allows you to like leave sockets open. And that's good because sockets can take some time to get started. So if you're going to make multiple requests to the same server, having a socket already open to use is quicker. But if you have basically without the PSRAM, if you open 3 TLS sockets at a time, you would run out of memory. And I wanted to raise that exception, and then I also wanted to add the Adafruit request so that if it saw that exception and it was actually just like holding on to sockets in case it needed them later, it would actually delete them. It would close those sockets and then try to get the third one going again. So that's where I was at on that. Flash. Oh, it's not plugged in. That would do it. So many USB cables. I should grab my water too. My voice is tired. I need to like finalize all this. Finalize all of the. Oh, what? Well, maybe that was the issue. Maybe that was the issue with the feathers. I've been having some trouble with this hub. I could try that again. Let me turn it off and back on again. See if that works. And we'll try the S2 again. Okay, so there's the USB. Let's just see if the S2 works now that I turn the hub off and back on again. I don't know why it's doing that. Linux USB just seems so flaky sometimes. Hey, we got an ACM1. And we got a CircuitPy drive. So the Feather S2 is working. It was my hub. It was a problem. So let's fix it. Let's do it. Sorry about that. ACM1. So I think because it's running CircuitPython right now, I do actually have to do the like thing. And just to not confuse myself, I'm going to unplug the other one. So now we have ACM0, which is my keyboard. ACM1 should be the Feather S2. That's what we want. Hi, Relay. I think that's right. Ah, the Bast Wi-Fi. Yeah, we have a pending PR for that. Oh, yeah, this is nice. I should probably not share on stream the moderator review. This message was held for review. Sorry. Still learning. I don't know if I probably still see it on the other one because I'm just logged into the Adafruit account. They need like streamer mode like Discord has. There's probably a way to do that. Electronics Cat is being very Adafruity. Yeah, I like their stuff. I met them at Maker Faire and was like going around looking for boards that had SAMDs on them, and I was like, hey, you could run CircuitPython. And they were all for it. It was awesome. Oh, let me grab my other water. Give my ears a break. I assume you can hear me still. Undefined reference to ESP log timestamp. Let me clean and rebuild. Loud and clear. Thank you, Mr. Certainly. Give my ears a break out of those things. It's headphones. I usually wear them because I'm listening to music. It is weird though. Weird talking without hearing myself. Headphone hair. I know. I think this weekend is definitely like cut my own hair weekend. I've been saying that for like the last 5 nights at least. But definitely need to do that. Definitely need a haircut. And I can freely pet the cat. Switch to the cat cam. Oh, did I wake you up? I surprised him. And now he's like, you woke me up and now you're not petting me. Man, these cue strings take a while. Oh, interesting. DCD says I got any hints about socket pool Wi-Fi radio. Socket pool can only be used with Wi-Fi radio. I've not seen that, but yeah, that sounds suspect. That sounds like a bug on my part. I'll have to try that. It should be pretty straightforward. That check should be pretty straightforward, but I don't know why it's complaining. He's bathing himself because I petted him. He's like, I don't want to smell like dad. Oops. I think if we do ACM1 on screen, we'll get it. That's as far as I got. That's weird. It might be a check that I added without testing. I don't think so. But that check is pretty straightforward. Like if you look in Common How. Oh, I'm on the wrong branch. I'm like, where'd Wi-Fi go? Oh, do I need to hit reset? Yeah, probably. If I hit reset, it should come up as CircuitPython, right? Device or resource busy. Oh, from the REPL. I don't usually test from the REPL, so it could be a weird thing with that. But yeah, I'll try to remember and test that. Man, it's dark. Looks like he's trying to lick off his spot. He's gonna have a bad time with that. That spot's not going anywhere. Alright, I'm gonna unplug and replug. Did the flash work? Oh, see, now the hub's not working again. I don't know what it is. It might be like some interaction between the hub and Linux. Oh, there's the hub. Did I break it? Alright, so it's showing up. Flash. Oh, yeah. Do I know the cat is on full screen? No. DCD says we can't see either. He's actually moving. There you go. Sorry, it was me trying to figure out. Why this isn't working. And I missed it too. Oh, so it flashed. This might have been what Unexpected Maker is talking about, but this doesn't work. Oh no, it's writing. Nice and quick. The hard resetting via RTS pin is a lie. But this doesn't work. If I hit... I don't think it works. I have to hit reset, right? Now it's gone, and it doesn't come back. Yeah. Unhandled ESP TLS error. That's the you're out of memory, because you're running my test that runs out of memory. Yep. Stuck in a boot loop. Maybe? I can't tell. Probably? I suppose I could hook up. That's probably what it is. I'm not gonna do it. I wanna push this code. Let me just test it on the other thing, and then because I'm already over time. Let's just make sure it works on the rover, and then we can later figure out what's going on the other thing. No problem. This is all new stuff. This is what I'm here for. To figure stuff out like this. I will say it's very nice having a bootloader that ramps the LED up and down, so you know in the bootloader mode. Which is something I need to follow up on, is getting UF2 on these things. Okay. This. It's always the hub. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. Yeah, and that's weird that you got the socket pull can only be used with Wi-Fi radio. Error from command line. Oh, well, there you go. You're right. it is crashing with load prohibited. Right, so we can try the S2 after we fix this. And it's crashing in main 137. What is that? Trying to think of if there's any SDK like menu config stuff. 137. Enable PyStack. Oh, do I not have PyStack? PyStack should be statically allocated. This. 137. I mean, this looks more suspect, this heap pointer here. Bruce is gonna try native Wi-Fi as well. Okay, let's keep going. Perpetually, I'm like so close. I cheated. I Control-C'd my way back to. Stack. This should be fine. I don't know why, you know, I could just leave all these debug statements in, but it just seems kind of icky. Well, that would explain why it's not working. Hide my hair. My headphone hair with headphones. Oh yeah, it's Friday. I don't know what it could be. I think I thought I had PyStack in the native thing already. That looks fine. But the backtrace is the same. The backtrace is at 146 now. That is suspect. What is heap? I must have changed something more in... This is what happens when you make changes that are too large. This is gonna be bad. It's gonna fail. Because I forked from MicroPython so long ago, it always thinks that that's the thing that I want to be based on. Which is not true. 5,000 plus commits different from MicroPython. And for some reason, the Adafruit branches make this unhappy. Okay, so let's see. Ah! This is probably our problem. Maybe. We need to do our memory init after our port init. So let's just snag that. And let's find 440. This sounds familiar to me. Oh! My browser still copies and pastes with Control-C and not Command. So half of them do Command and half of them don't. Which is pleasant. Alright, let's try that. I think that's our problem. But there might be more I need to do. That looks better. And the 2 prints that I added. Yeah, that was our problem. This is why we test. Hi, Mr. Aragorn. Welcome. We're just about to wrap up. I don't even know what he's trying to do. I don't know what my code.py on here is. Oh, this is my old code.py, I think. Because it's using the old partition table. Because the native Wi-Fi partition table changes all that stuff. Okay, so that's fine. Because I don't have it connected. Let's just do gc memfree to check that it's got a lot. Great. And okay, that's not the right window. So now let's discard stuff from here. Except this, we do want that, so let's just even stage it. And we can stage this stuff too. And let's take another crack at the Feather S2. So let me unplug, we'll eject. Safely remove. Unclick. Unclick. Pull. Plug in the Feather S2. Holding boot. Which should put us in boot mode when I plug it in, I think. Yep. And let's flash it again. Although this won't have the external PSRAM, but it should at least start up. We still have to do the menu config. That's a good idea. Fede2 says, in a future stream, it would also be cool to push the PR at the start and have us test like crazy. I'm skeptical that if I push the native Wi-Fi branch that it'll be merged by next Friday, but should it be? Should I be getting CircuitPython off the Feather now? I think I should be. Unless I messed it up again. It's still not working. I just pressed reset. Oh. I jinxed it. It just popped up. Maybe I wasn't giving it enough time? Feather S2 with ESP32S2. Alright. Import GC mem free. It's got 47, which is not a lot, but if we stop that and we go to menu config and component config ESP32S2, it's on the stock pins, right? SPI RAM. Eight megabyte. This all stays the same. Make integrate RAM into memory map. Yep. Save. Okay. And boot reset. CircuitPython is gone. Flash. David G said, earlier you asked anyone want to do a release today. Are you talking about 6.0 Alpha 3? I was. And because people are still having with the issues with the Pi stack being too small. And we should have released it like weeks ago, right after we did that, and we just didn't. I really would like to do a beta 0, and that's why I did my PWM stuff instead of a release. So we're being bad. I think there's some automation that we need to do to make releases less painful, and then we'll release more often. I think none of us really want to do it. I also think Dan was out today. He just wasn't around. I think he's been working really hard on the BLE HCI stuff, and so I think he took the day off. So I didn't want to ping anybody about it. I think Dan's gonna be owning getting 6.0 stable, which would be cool. Okay, let's hit reset. And it popped up. It's just a little slow, which I don't know why. So we're on the S2 now, import GC, and we do GC mem free. Whoa, 8 megabytes. That's ridiculous. That is definitely a CircuitPython record. We should give Unexpected Maker a trophy. Awesome, okay. Yay. And I remembered to set the YouTube latency to not terrible. So that's been good too. Okay, git status. Git add boards. Git status again. I just want to make sure I didn't stage anything I don't want. Yep, chat is good. Awesome. Okie doke. That looks right. Git commit. And there is some issue that we have to associate with. So let's just take a look at the S2 issues. Label. Oh man, I'm so close. Wait, what? We don't have an issue for PSRAM? I was so excited to close an issue. Nope, apparently not. So what happens is we have a pre-commit set up now, and it makes sure that you don't have like trailing white space and stuff like that. If you do, it will fail you, but it will also modify it. So you just add the stuff that messed up. And then it should work. Correct. So the menu config PSRAM changes saved in the board folder. Yes. So when you run menu config with a specific board, there's actually some lines in the makefile after menu config is done that basically does it literally does a diff between the default port level STK config and the one that like was spit out by menu config. So the difference between those two things ends up at the board STK config. DCD says, quick, submit an issue so you can fix it and check it off. Well, I'm close to getting the Wi-Fi one checked off. So we'll just do this. Come on. Add PSRAM support to ESP32S2. When configured, the CircuitPython heap on the external RAM. There might be issues with this, so if you try this and you have problems, there might be issues around DMA. So let me know if you find issues. Not available, the heap will be 48K inside the IDF heap. Okay. Okay, so one thing that you may have noticed is this is the branch name I'm on. I'm not actually on a branch, but it's not too late. You can do git switch C and then your branch name. And I'll just call it add PSRAM. And then I can do git push tannewt, add PSRAM. And now that should show up. The place I like to look is on the Adafruit repo, because if you do it recently, it pops up this nice box here. And we can compare. We'll label it enhancement ESP32S2 milestone 6.0, and we can see our changes. Leave. Hey Adafruit, I'm new to coding and programming. I just learned Python and I was wondering how you come up with project ideas and such. I'm creative when it comes to art, but not coding. Ooh, good question to end the day on. Let me click create pull request and try and answer your question. I think if you're creative when it comes to art, you could think about things that you could improve your art with coding, like how to combine those two things. I think Sophie Wong and Helen are really good examples of those things where like programming is not the end all be all. It's the tool that you use to achieve something else that you want. For me, a lot of the projects that I'm interested in are also centered around being like learning something new, learning some sort of technology new. Yeah, people are suggesting LED light shows, which is always a good place to start. So I think broadly I would say combine something that interests you with coding. Figure out how that you can kind of dovetail those two things in. Like I've got some old computers, and a lot of the FPGA stuff I've been working on is like trying to make it easier to interface with those old computers, for example. So yeah, I would encourage you to do that. You could also, if you want to just practice, and practice is important in anything you want to get better at, there are places you can simply get programming questions and kind of go into the more like computer sciencey theory side. Like I think it's Project Euler like this is the like theoretical side of things, but they have like problem sets and things that you can do. There's also Hacktoberfest is coming up, so if you want to contribute to a project, open source projects will be asking people to help out. Mark Olson points out that Adafruit has show and tell videos, which is a great idea to get ideas from. And then there's the what is the Christmas time coding thing? What is that called? Johnny, you're kind of late to the party. Yeah, we're wrapping up. We got PSRAM working, which is exciting. Did not get to Wi-Fi, unfortunately. PSRAM had more difficulties than I expected. What is the name of the coding advent calendar? Yeah. What is the name of the site that I'm thinking of? Advent of Code. Yeah, so there's this Advent of Code thing where this is something you'll see more like in school, where you'll get kind of like a word problem and you have to like use whatever programming language you want to compute the final answer. And they actually do like build on each other as well. So yeah, this is a great way to just get practice down. But it may not be as compelling. Folknology asks, are there any guidelines or docs to CircuitPython memory layout / choices? No. The PyStack, so I could just cover it. There's a heap, and that heap is, so a lot of this we inherit from MicroPython. So the way that like memory gets filled up with like static data, and then at the top you have the stack. So we leave a certain amount for the stack at the top, and up until the next unstable release, like that stack was shared between C and Python, but with the PyStack enabling, that's actually split. So we had the C stack still, but now we'll have like a chunk in that static memory that's also PyStack. And then the rest, basically the rest of that, if you're on a board like the Sandy that's just one contiguous memory space, the rest of that in the middle is all the heap. And the heap is a bit fancier than the MicroPython one, because MicroPython always allocates from one end of the heap forwards. CircuitPython has a long living thing that I added, and there's videos on this if this is interesting to you, where if you like import a module, we know that's going to be around for a while, so we'll actually copy all that data to the other side of the heap, trying to keep the other side of the heap really dense, and so that when we sweep most of the left side of the heap. That gets a lot more complicated when you're working on microcontrollers that have tiered memory access. In particular, the STM and the IMXs, we do have a way to mark certain functions as like should live in tightly coupled memory, just like tightly coupled memory or core coupled memory is like right next to the CPU, and it's accessible immediately, like in a single cycle. We do have some ways of like saying like these bits should live there, that are used in some ports, but not all of them. And then, and I don't think we're using it for the ESP right now, but we probably want to, because what happens is that if you don't have that, if you have kind of like slow memory, large but slow memory, what happens is you put a cache in front of it, but the cache is only so big. And so the idea with those designations is that the stuff that you always know you're going to need you can put in core coupled memory, and core coupled memory is as fast as a cache, so it doesn't impact the cache. So by putting it in core coupled memory, you're also freeing the cache to to cache the things that you don't necessarily know you need. So yeah, that's a very brief kind of overview. Do you have any other specific questions about memory layout stuff? It's more complicated on the ESP, also because of the ESP IDF has its own heap, and that makes it tough too. Ooh. My wife sent me a text of food that she ordered for dinner tonight. There I go again, texting while I'm on stream. But Folknology's typing, so I don't want to quite end it yet. I think this is interesting to other people too. The memory stuff. Okay, great. Yeah, so let me show you. You can see my screen. For those of you who haven't watched these before, if you go to Adafruit and playlist, hey, look, I'm live. Under playlists, there's this deep dive with Scott, and we don't need to listen to it. I hate that. I want to view full playlist. Dinner is Indian food, which I'm excited about. She might make me. I might want to make green beans. I have this Indian dish that uses green beans, and we grow green beans in our garden, and so we probably want to use that up. So if I'm looking here for memory stuff, you're really like these two old ones. In particular, this very, very oldest one is actually pretty handy. It's got this kind of crazy visualization. You can see this is from last year, so like this is before I started doing it consistently. But it talks about some of the visualization tools for memory stuff, and these tools do work still, I think. So they're checked in. So I think this is a pretty decent coverage of the long-lived stuff in particular. Cool. Let's wrap up. Thank you all for joining me and again for a deep dive. I'm paid by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython and do this stream, so please support Adafruit at adafruit.com. Check that out, and we'll buy some CircuitPython hardware, or expect to see more awesome hardware from Adafruit over time. And if you have questions about CircuitPython, the Adafruit Discord server is a great resource. So you could go to adafru.it/discord. That is where I'm on all the time. A lot of the folks that I'm communicating with the chat are as well. So if you have questions, that's a great place to do it. And I'll see you next week. I think I'll be on Friday. If not, if I don't stream on Friday, I'll post on Wednesday that I'm streaming on Thursday. But I'll plan on doing it. Please test the native Wi-Fi branch. I think it should work. And it doesn't have the PSRAM stuff, which maybe we could add. But check that out. And I guess I could cherry pick the PSRAM stuff back. But yeah, check out that stuff. Let me know what issues you come across. They will not be bug-free when it gets merged in first, but we'll find the bugs that matter, and we'll fix those. So thanks again, and I'll pet the cat on the way out. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Where are you going? See y'all next week.